Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back. So we are going to go straight to this information. Please make sure you like the video and subscribe if you are new, and your comment is very important to us. Yesterday, I told us something about what is going on in Nigeria, especially the reintegration of Nigerian army, the Boko Haram to Nigerian army. It's no longer news. They were hiding it until Westerners, Americans begin to pay attention to that. They are now trying to justify that with the backup from Britain. It's not my business. I don't care, to be honest with you. But I want it to be on record that people, everybody is aware of what is going on. And not only that, the collapse, the speed in which they are trying to collapse everything, thinking that they are helping themselves, is shocking. Only our people who don't understand what is playing out are the ones still having high hope that there's a country. Please, like I said, make sure you share this video and like the video, of course, very important. Remember the video that I shared with you yesterday? The number of terrorists, Boko Haram, the Nigerian government, they announced they are going to send them back to society, which of course is police, army, and the navy, and rest of them. So we have another information to share with you. Somebody just put it in a better format that after listening to that, our brother, I felt like it's worth sharing. So please give me your ear while you go through that in this particular video. Now we have this post made by Somtochukwu, okay, Okonkwo. Many of you know him on X. He's ex-Nigerian military. So he said, after watching this video to the end, you will understand that the return of Boko Haram under Tinubu's administration is worse. It's worse than Nigerians think. And Nigeria is on the verge of complete collapse. And Nigeria is on the verge of complete collapse. That is where I got my title from, which is true. Boko Haram is defeated. Boko Haram is defeating the Nigerian military. They are expanding rapidly, while corruption within the military is at its highest. Soldiers are reportedly on low morale, with hundreds abandoning their posts. Now, let's hear the news in detail, because this is what Somtochukwu said here with this video. Pay close attention.
Nigeria's armed forces are the largest in all of West Africa. On paper, they should be an absolutely formidable machine. But in reality, they are actively deployed across 2/3 of the country's 36 states all at once. They are stretched to the absolute breaking point. The Sufan Center, a global security intelligence group, revealed that massive embezzlement of weapons fund, terrible living conditions for troops, and sheer logistical sabotage have completely gutted the military's ability to actually hold territory. And because of this, the deadly pattern keeps repeating across Borno states. Insurgents attack a remote military base. The soldiers stationed there, widely understaffed and often fighting with broken equipment, are forced to either flee or be overrun. And when they run, they leave everything behind. Armored vehicles, heavy weapons, thousands of rounds of ammunition. The insurgents simply loot it all. Then they use those exact same weapons to attack the next base. Every time the Nigerian military loses a base, it isn't just a tactical defeat. It is a massive free weapons delivery for Boko Haram. By April 2025, the situation got so bad that Borno State Governor Babaga.
Please, everything that he's saying here, I want you to pay attention to them all. Very important. Please. I want to hear everything he's saying. Do not miss any words from what he's saying from now on forward. From now onwards, pay attention to everything that he's saying. And ask yourself if that is true or not. That's what I want you to understand, because it is very obvious that a lot is going on and people are not paying close attention to that. Just hear him.
Zulum made an announcement announcement that shocked the entire country. He publicly stated that military formations in the state were being, quote, dislodged almost on a daily basis without confrontation. The military wasn't just losing battles anymore. In some cases, soldiers were abandoning their posts even before the fighting began. By November of that year, the Nigerian Senate was panicking. They called for the urgent, immediate recruitment of 100,000 additional soldiers. This was a quiet, desperate admission that their fighting force was completely hollowed out. And when Boko Haram overran the resettled town of Ngoshe in March 2026, that grim reality became impossible to hide. The roughly 300 soldiers stationed at the local base were completely overpowered. They were forced to retreat into the deep bush alongside the very civilians they were supposed to protect, leaving the entire town to burn. 300 soldiers swept aside in a single night by a resurgent ghost army. So Ibrahim Bakura Doro now had everything he needed. He had a distracted enemy. He had an endless stream of recycled recruits. He had wide open borders, and he had a national military that was literally arming his fighters by losing to them. But what he decided to do with those massive advantages is what should terrify anyone paying attention to this story.
A lot of foreign insurgents are coming into Nigeria. So you letting me think that Christians will be in Nigeria.
When most people hear the name Boko Haram, they think of one very specific place, the Northeast, Borno State, the Lake Chad Basin. And for over a decade, that is exactly where this war was contained. Well, that is no longer true. Remember that trusted commander Shekau sent into the deep forest near Nigeria's capital city of Abuja back in 2014? His name is Abubakar Saidu, though he is known simply as Sadiku. And for the past 10 years, hidden in the trees, he has been building something extraordinary. The Institute for Security Studies recently conducted a massive, detailed investigation into this specific cell. They interviewed defectors. They spoke to local victims. They sat down with women who had escaped after being forcibly married to these fighters. What they uncovered wasn't just a military base, it was a complete mutation of the insurgency. Sadiku's cell does not operate like traditional Boko Haram. Instead of a strict religious command hierarchy, it operates under kachalas, that is, ruthless local warlords. They raid villages, they kidnap innocent people for ransom, they justify the massive extortion as taking the spoils of war from unbelievers. And here's the most critical detail. This cell actively tolerates local bandits using drugs, drinking alcohol, and engaging in prostitution. Under normal Boko Haram doctrine, every single one of those acts is punishable by death. But when strict clerics from the Northeast complained about this, Sadiku gave a chillingly practical answer. The locals, quote, will change with time. This is pragmatism over ideological purity, and it is working flawlessly. The local bandits provide the manpower and an intimate knowledge of the terrain. In exchange, Boko Haram provides the heavy weapons, shipped directly by Bakura Doro from his hidden island base in Lake Chad. Together, this terrifying alliance now controls massive swaths of forest in Niger State. And the Nigerian military's ground forces, well, after suffering repeated deadly attacks, they have completely withdrawn. But this expansion doesn't stop there. A completely separate network, led by a commander named Malam Mahmuda, has been spreading south. It moved from Niger State all the way down into Kwara State, reaching the fringes of the old Oyo National Park in Nigeria's southwest. Mahmuda was eventually arrested in August 2025, but the sleeper cells he established are still highly active. In fact, the International Crisis Group identified Sadiku's sprawling forces as the likely perpetrators behind a horrific massacre in Kwara in February 2026, where 162 people were slaughtered. In the weeks that followed, suspected Boko Haram fighters killed at least 71 more people in raids across the region. And then comes the connection that ties this entire nightmare together. Remember Lakurawa? That is the armed group that suddenly regrouped after those crucial border patrols collapsed, according to sources within the Institute for Security Studies. Lakurawa formally pledged his allegiance to Boko Haram in August 2025. Researchers even obtained images showing Boko Haram fighters physically traveling to join Lakurawa in the lawless tribal area between Nigeria, Niger, and Benin. Sadiku is actively sending his own fighters to reinforce them, and Lakurawa emissaries visit Sadiku's forest camp every single year. If you map out these attacks, the terrifying reality becomes clear. This is no longer a northeastern insurgency. This has become a fully national armed network with alliances reaching deep into the Sahel. And for the ordinary Nigerians living trapped inside this expanding web, this convergence is creating something far worse than any single terrorist group. Here's the brutal reality of living inside this crisis. Imagine you are a farmer in your state. If Boko Haram even suspects you gave information to their rivals in the swamp, they will massacre your entire village. This isn't hypothetical. That is exactly what happened at Malan Karamti in May 2025. Over 100 people were gathered up and marched out into the deep bush. At least 57 of them were executed on the spot. Dozens more simply vanished without a trace. But if ISWAP suspects you helped Boko Haram, they come for you next. And if the Nigerian military suspects you helped either group, you face immediate arrest. Or much worse, both the armed insurgents and the national security agencies constantly demand intelligence from these local communities. But providing that information or simply being suspected of providing it brings absolute devastation from all sides. There is no safe choice. It is a complete trap. In September 2025, Boko Haram attacked Daro Jama. This was a community in Borno that had just been resettled with 3,000 people who had spent a decade living in displacement camps. The government had finally looked them in the eye and told them it was safe to go back home. Instead, more than 60 people were slaughtered, including the soldiers stationed there to protect them. The state governor visited the very next day and told the traumatized survivors to stay and rebuild. And this brings us to the core truth of the entire war. The reality that should keep every Nigerian awake at night. Boko Haram is not just the Shekau group you used to know. It is something far darker now. Niger claims they killed Ibrahim Bakuradoro in a drone strike in August 2025, but his fighters immediately denied it. And multiple intelligence sources say he is still very much alive. But honestly, even if he is dead, recent history tells us exactly how this story goes. When Shekau died, everyone expected his faction to permanently fall apart. Instead, Bakura Doro emerged from the shadows within months, more strategic and dangerous than before. Because killing leaders does not kill movements. To end this, you have to kill the conditions that created them in the first place.
The numerical strength of the Nigerian army is not enough to contain the situation.
The UN Development Program recently sat down with people who voluntarily joined violent extremist groups across Africa and asked them a simple question. Why? A quarter of them gave the exact same answer. They had no jobs. And since 2017, that number has nearly doubled. But there was another finding in that report that cuts even deeper. The researchers asked about, quote, tipping points. That is a specific triggering event that finally pushed a person over the edge and made them join up, of those who had a tipping point. A staggering 71% said that moment was an act of abuse by their own government security forces. It wasn't a fiery religious sermon. It wasn't a slave recruitment video. It was a soldier kicking down your door. Boko Haram didn't come roaring back because Bakura Doro is some kind of untouchable military genius. No. It came back because Nigeria handed the group absolutely everything it needed to survive.
Now, when you hear Nigeria handed over the group everything they needed to survive,
Commandership.
that is the part where the issue of equipment, because at the beginning of the video, he said something that each time they attack Nigerian army camp, soldiers don't have, the morale to fight, and sometimes they fight with, dilapidated equipment like machines that are not actually up to what the terrorists are using. Sometimes they don't. They're afraid of their life. Of course, they will abandon it and run away. And so that will go and terrorists will go there and pick those materials up. That's why you see them having all this equipment and other things, heavy equipment. Some people have alleged that it's not the only that they run away from the camp. Sometimes they will Nigerian army will load, um, equipment to deposit, maybe one location for maybe the camp and other things. Because these people are not within, they will lay ambush on them and buy the driver and everybody, of course, and made away with the equipment. Some say that it's not only that they submitted it to them, that the driver, those that are going to convert those equipment to those locations, are actually the one of the repentant Boko Haram who are still, interested, or who are still, of course, Boko Haram pretending to be a repentant Boko Haram. They will be the one, once they go to the location, they will jump out from the car, run away in the bush, and their colleague will be shooting gun on air to make it look like they were attacked, before they then gave up. So these are what is going on. And please let me know what you think about, because I don't want the video to be too long. Let me know your take on that, and like the video, share it to many platforms of your choice. God bless you and take care of yourself. See you again. Bye bye for now.